Welcome to Enjoy the Journey podcast, where we interview expert entrepreneurs and thought leaders to help guide you in pursuit of financial freedom. Presented to you by Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, and Sam Panetta, the Money Man, where we help service-based business owners remove cash flow bottlenecks, maximize their profits, and turn business profits into personal wealth. Welcome back, guys. This is Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, and we're here for another episode of the Enjoy the Journey podcast. So first things first, I really appreciate the feedback that we've been getting, guys, for firing up the podcast. It's awesome to hear that many of you are getting a lot of value out of this format, and we really look forward to releasing some great new content for you to help guide you to grow and scale your business, to remove your cash flow bottlenecks, to maximize your profit, and to turn your business profits into personal wealth. So let's get started in today's episode. Now, the theme for today is what we refer to as the real roadmap. This is a super important concept, and it's been a concept that we've used over the course of the last decade to help over 1,000 clients build $1.2 billion in combined wealth. Yes, that's billion with a B. It's been super powerful, but it is very, very simple. And today I'm going to explain to you exactly why it's so simple and how you can utilize it in your business, in your life, to be able to achieve your goals and get on the right path for financial freedom. Now, here's the thing, guys. I know we spoke about last time that many of us are never taught the language of money. We're never taught how to make money work for us, how to use it as a tool to be able to facilitate our path from where we are to where we want to go. It's something that we just kind of have to feel it out. We have to learn through our first-hand experiences, or maybe we've been lucky to get a mentor or a parent that's really good with money, that's learnt these things for themselves and can pass that knowledge, can pass that wisdom on to us. But the reality is, for most of us, that doesn't happen. We end up having to learn through our first-hand experiences, and we end up making a lot of costly mistakes. I was no different. I was never taught how to plan effectively. I was never taught how to create a roadmap. I was always taught that if you want something, you go and get it, and you continue to persevere until you work out how to make it happen. It was really a matter of just throwing yourself at something and trying to push through it with just sheer perseverance. I was very lucky that my parents always taught me to persevere, to chase after what I want, and if I had an idea in my head, I needed to do everything in my power to bring it to life. And I was always a very spontaneous kid. When I came up with an idea, I kind of just ran at it. I gave it everything that I had. Sometimes it was successful, sometimes it wasn't. In hindsight, there was a lot that I could have done to be more effective in terms of how I was investing my time, and I was just so driven to get started that I lacked the preparation required to ensure that I could have a seamless and straightforward journey in pursuit of whatever it was that I was creating. It's now that I've got to the benefit of hindsight, I've got the experience, that I understand that having a roadmap to follow, having a plan to follow, is one of the most important tools when it comes to growing and scaling your business, but also growing and scaling your wealth. There's a reason why most people never plan. And it is this culture, this mentality that we've all been forced to adopt, that we need to make up for lost ground. Many of us feel like we're behind. We're behind on our accomplishments, whether it be in our career, in our personal lives, in our wealth. Whatever that might be, we're constantly feeling as if we are behind the 8 ball. Maybe you can relate. And for this reason, we feel rushed. And because of that rush, we jump ahead. We feel like we need to make up for lost time. We need to continue to push on in order to make up and get back to where we were supposed to be. But that's pretty silly, right? Like, we're all running our own race. And this is when we understand where we are on our wealth journey and the most important things that we need to be doing next. We can create the right plan that allows us to run our own race. Now, the reason why many people don't plan, in addition to the fact that they feel like they're falling behind, is that they feel like that in order for them to make progress, they need to be taking action. They need to be engaging in the doing as opposed to the planning. But like any big project, without the planning, it makes it very, very difficult to complete the project successfully. Like, imagine that you were tasked with building a high-rise block of apartments. Do you think that you would just get your building team and send them in and just get them to start building? Laying the foundations, starting to pour the concrete, all of these things. Do you think that they would do that without a plan? No way in hell would that ever happen. And if it did, it would be catastrophic, I can assure you. Because you've got to realize, well, firstly, what foundations do we need? How big are we building this high-rise apartment? How many apartments are we going to build? What are they going to look like? What do the internals look like? What do the floor plans look like? All of these questions are going to be answered with the right plan. And in many cases, it's the planning part of the process that actually takes the longest. And because of that time invested in the planning, it means that the construction phase or the action-taking phase is much more seamless and a whole lot easier. See, I remember that when I was a kid, I used to be super into Legos. I'm sure most kids were. And I remember that when I'd get started, I'd get a new box of Lego and I'd go and sit down and I'd dive straight into it. I'd probably get started with the instructions, but being a very impatient child, I'd typically throw the instructions aside and just let my creativity fill the gap, fill the void that the instructions had left. And more often than not, I'd end up having to restart because I thought I knew what had to happen. But without following the plan, without following the blueprint, there was often many pieces that were left over and it didn't resemble what was on the front of the box. And this is a great metaphor for many of us when it comes to our planning in both our business and in our personal wealth journey. It's this she'll be right culture that we just throw ourselves at the task at hand, expecting that our sheer determination is going to get us the outcome that we want. The reality is it very rarely does. We've spoken about this many times, but the statistics of failure are huge in small business and in those who actually achieve financial freedom. Like, how many people do you know that are truly financially free? Now, your idea or definition of financial freedom may be that you have the ability to retire and have your own financial means that supports your lifestyle. But I know many retirees who are so scared and fearful of what they may lose because of the way that they're invested, the fact that their finances are all tied up, that they can't afford the volatility. So for that reason, are they really financially free? I also know so many business owners who've never sat down and done a business plan, have never done a 90-day plan, have never done a budget or a forecast for their business, have never set targets for what they want to achieve over the next 12 months. And guys, this is the perfect time to be planning. This is the time that you should be sitting down and reflecting on what's happened over the course of this financial year. What have you learned? What are things that have met or exceeded your expectations? What are the things that in hindsight you could have done better? And with all of those things being considered, what do you want to achieve over the course of the next 12 months for you to be happy with your progress, both in your business and personally? Now, this is something that I do personally myself. My business partner Sam and I went out for lunch yesterday. We catch up once a month and we actually sit down and talk about each other's goals. We restate the goals that we said that we're going to achieve over the next 12 months. We catch up once a month for lunch where we talk through the goals and then we talk about, are we on track for it? What can we do better? We give each other some constructive feedback and then we continue to push on. It is that sense of goal clarity, the time that we've taken to plan, that maximizes our opportunity for success. In addition to this, we go through an exercise that we refer to as the annual roadmap. It's actually more than a year. It's 20 years into the future. And it's something that I'll explain to you guys today. Because I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're probably taken aback a little bit when I say, oh wow, planning 20 years in the future? Isn't that a long time away? It definitely is. But there's an important reason why we do that. And I'll explain that to you on this podcast. So what we've got to realize, guys, is we need to get out of this she'll be right culture. I think as Australians, and look, I think more so across the entire developed world, many of us are so conditioned to be worker ants that we very rarely take the time to step back, reflect, and think about what it is that we should really be working towards. So what we need to talk about today is the difference between dreams and goals. What I find is with this she'll be right attitude, we often overcompensate for the doing, and we lack in the time of reflection and goal setting. And for this reason, many of us only have dreams. What I mean by that is that most people who are ambitious, that are in business, have things that they're working towards. The issue is that for many of these people, this is just a dream. It means that they haven't taken the time to break them down into a plan. They have dreams. They want to have a nice house. They want to drive a nice car. They want to be able to go on holidays overseas every year. They want to send their kids to private school. They want to build a multi-seven-figure business. But that's the end of it. They've stated those things, but they don't have clarity around these things. If you want the nice house, where is it? How much is it? What's the deposit you need? By when do you want it? If you want the nice car, do you want to pay for it outright? Do you want to lease it? What are the repayments? If you want to go on nice holidays overseas every year, how much are you going to spend? When are you going to go? Where are you going to go? For how long are you going to go? If you're going to go send your kids to private school, what does it cost per year? How much does it get indexed by every year? What's it going to cost you year on year? It's the breaking down of these dreams that allows us to turn them into goals and then turn them into an action plan that allows us to have control over our ability to make them happen. This is a hugely powerful exercise. And what I found in my experience is the reason why many people don't do this is because they're scared. They are fearful that if they take the time to break this down and they invest all of this time and effort, that they're going to come to the realization that the goals are too lofty. They're too out of reach. And I call bullshit. I call bullshit on the basis that as an entrepreneur, as somebody who has control over your ability to earn an income, you have the ability to work out exactly what needs to happen to achieve these goals. Let's say, for argument's sake, that all of your goals require you to earn $200,000 a year. It's a pretty big number, right? However, knowing that and being able to connect the things that are really important to you, the house, the car, the holidays, the private school, the experiences, all of those things, if you can connect that back to a tangible dollar figure, $200,000, are you going to have a lot more connection to the activity and have more accountability to doing that activity, knowing that the only thing that gets between you and living the lifestyle that you desire is your ability to manufacture that level of income? In my experience with every single client that we've worked with, that we've taken them through this exercise, it has been a light bulb moment. Because most of us are chasing some sort of income target, but it's an income target that's driven by ego. It doesn't mean anything. It's superficial. I was caught up with a guy the other day, and I was asking him this, and I go, okay, what's your goal? What are you trying to achieve in your business? And he goes, I want to earn $500,000 a year. Okay, great. What does that $500,000 a year mean to you? He looked at me strangely. He goes, what do you mean? Well, how did you come to that figure? Why do you want it? He thought for a moment. Well, I've never thought about it. It's just the number that I've been chasing. And here lies the problem. It is not the number that we are chasing. It is what that number provides to us that is important. So here is a better version of this exercise, and this is how we're going to turn dreams to goals. What we're going to do is we're going to work through the real way to plan. Not the bullshit way that we've learnt through just what the general populace does. Because the reality is, if the general populace is doing it, why isn't the general populace wealthy? Why isn't the general populace living a life of abundance, a life of freedom, have the ability to have the freedom and choice to do things on their own terms? And the reason why the general populace does not have that opportunity is because they do not know how to plan. So what we're going to talk about is the real way to plan. And the real way to plan is very, very simple, but very, very powerful. And what I want you to ask yourself is as follows. I want you to sit somewhere in peace and quiet. I want you to sit in your chair with your feet firmly planted on the ground. And I want you to ask yourself, what would you like? What would you like? And what will having that do for you? And what will having that do for you? When, where, and with whom do you want it? When, where, and with whom do you want it? And how will you know once you have it? How will you know once you have it? And what might you lose in the process? And what might you lose in the process? Now, with all of that considered, what would you like? Now, having considered all of that, what came to mind? What pictures did you see in your head? What did you feel? What did you hear? This is the starting of working out what you really want. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this exercise into what we call the 20-year roadmap. And the 20-year roadmap is a very powerful exercise that we developed many years ago. It's a little bit scary to start off with, but bear with me. The more often we do this, the easier it's going to become. So I want you to think about your goals, and I want you to visualize a roadmap. A roadmap that spans 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. And on each side of this roadmap, there is a pillar of your goals. Your left-hand pillar are your lifestyle goals, the goals that add quality to your life, the things like the holidays, the experiences, the hours that you work, the things that you provide to your family, to your friends, to yourself, that don't necessarily provide you with a financial benefit. And on the right-hand side, we're going to have your financial goals. Your financial goals are the goals that add value to you financially. That might be the home that you want to purchase, when you want to pay it off, your investments, your passive income, your ability to achieve financial freedom. Now, I want you to ask yourself, which one is more important to you right now? Is it lifestyle or is it financial? And whichever one you pick, that's the one that I want you to start with. Now let's assume that it's financial. I want you to ask yourself, in the next 12 months, what are all of the financial goals that you want to achieve? Is it that you want to pay off your credit card? Is it that you want to save a deposit for your house? Is it that you want to buy another investment property? Is it that you want to pay down your mortgage by a certain amount? Whatever those goals may be, I want you to write down as many of them as you can. And feel free to pause this podcast while you do this. Now, once it's done, I want you to go to 5 years. So between 1 year and 5 years, what are the goals that you want to achieve within that milestone? Great. Now you've got your 1 year and your 5 years. Between 5 years and 10 years, what goals do you want to achieve within that time period? Push yourself to come up with at least one thing. Fantastic. Now 15 years. Between 10 and 15 years, what do you want to achieve? Fantastic. Now 20 years. Within the next 20 years, from 15 to 20 years, what do you want to achieve? Now, even if this goal isn't clear, it's important to have at least one thing in each box. And of course, these things are going to shift and change over the course of the next 20 years. I guarantee it. However, by taking the time to have something as a placeholder, it helps us start thinking about the long term. And when we start using big picture thinking, it's going to make it a whole lot easier for us to find the energy, the determination, the grit required for us to do the work in the short term to get us on the right track for the long term. Now, I want you to do exactly the same exercise on the other side. So if you've done financial, do lifestyle. If you've done lifestyle, do financial. And this is going to start providing us with a really clear roadmap. It may take you a couple of times, a couple of goes at this to get this exercise right. But once we've got it, it's going to be an extremely powerful tool. Now, what we've got to realize, guys, is that the reason why both of these are important is that for many of us, we are trying too hard to defer gratification. We are setting unrealistic expectations of ourselves. And we're falling into what I call is the Bill Gates trap. It was a saying that was famously said by Bill Gates many years ago, that most of us overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10. Or in this case, 20 years. And the issue is, for most of us, is that we fall into this trap of trying too hard in the short term, of treating our marathon like it's a sprint. And we get 100 meters, 200 meters down the track, and we are so exhausted because we didn't pace ourselves that we might have got out in front of everyone else. But as we continue to persevere through this exhaustion and our pace continues to drop, those other people who had the right strategy, who had the marathon mentality, quickly pass us. And this comes back to my mantra. It's a mantra that I've had for many years that I refer to as live for today and plan for tomorrow. And this is really important. We cannot just blindly chase financial goals. You can't expect that you're going to sit at home watching Netflix, eating cornflakes for dinner for the next 20 years of your life. What kind of life is that? We need to have balance. Particularly as a business owner, when you're working really hard, you're sacrificing things in your life, you are taking risks, you're dealing with stress. You need to have an opportunity to reward yourself for that hard work. And it is when we disconnect the activity from the reward where we work really hard and we don't give ourselves that reward, that recognition, that we end up starting to condition ourselves to not work so hard. And I've seen it time and time again where business owners have not had a sustainable wealth journey, meaning that they haven't been rewarding themselves adequately for all of their hard work. They fall off the wagon. They come off the rails, and they come off the rails hard. And this is where they either do significant damage that would have far exceeded what it would have cost them to have balance, or they completely give up. They relapse and they go back to focusing exclusively on lifestyle and only living for today and putting nothing away for tomorrow. So by having this 20-year roadmap, there should be balance. There should be balance between your financial goals, the house you want, the investments you want, the passive income you want, the debt reduction target that you want to achieve, and also rewarding yourself, going on holidays, having nice experiences, having the freedom and flexibility to engage in the hobbies and interests that light you up, that make you happy. And by having this balance, it gives us something to look forward to, but it also ensures that we are preparing for the future, meaning that we don't have to continue to work 60 plus hours a week for the rest of our lives. Now, what we need to do is we need to take this roadmap and we need to work out how do we reverse engineer it. And this is where many people get it wrong. What I mean by this is that many people fall into the trap of just saying, okay, I've set these goals. I know what I want. I'm just going to go out and do it. We need to know the numbers. We need to understand that money is a vehicle. It is the vehicle that is going to bring all of these things to light. Now, as we've spoken about before, there are only two tradable commodities in this world. There is time and there is money. Right now, for most of us, we are trading our time for money to ultimately get to the point where we can trade our money for time. We can buy back our time and we can do the things that we want to do, live life on our own terms. But in order for us to do that, we need to understand how much money we actually need to have to allow us to do that. So here's what we need to do. We need to go through an exercise that's called the personal profit and loss. If you have not heard us talk about the personal profit and loss before, it is our version of a budget because we hate the word budget. Budget's a dirty word. It infers that you need to shrink yourselves wealthy, and we've spoken about this before, that is not the way to do things, particularly when you're a business owner. So the personal profit and loss is using business terminology. Like a business, we have a goal, and we need to work out how much we need to spend in order for us to achieve that goal, and it's the same thing in your personal household. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to search, if you're not already a member, jump onto our free Facebook community, the Your Lifestyle Business community. If you just jump onto Facebook, search in the search bar, Your Lifestyle Business, and it should come up, Your Lifestyle Business, More Profit, Time, and Wealth. Join the group, and in the unit section of that group, we have a copy of our personal profit and loss. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to download this, and I want you to sit down. It should only take you about 30 minutes, and I want you to plug in a version of what your cash flow, what your household finances look like today. Don't worry too much about the income piece, just the expenses. And once you've plugged that all in, it should say at the bottom what your monthly or quarterly or annually your lifestyle costs. Now, don't skimp on this, guys. Put in what you're realistically going to spend for your lifestyle and your personal spending, what you're realistically going to spend on holidays. We want to be realistic. There's no point us setting an unrealistic plan because you're just going to fall off the rails. Now, I want you to save that. And I want you to create a separate version, which is going to be your financial freedom version. And I want you to project yourself into whatever time period in the future is most significant to you, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And I want you to create a version of that personal profit and loss that is based on the lifestyle that you want to live. Assuming that, let's say you get to a point where the home's fully paid off. Let's assume that you have got more freedom and flexibility to do the things that you want to do, whether it be traveling for 3 months of the year or giving back or whatever it might be. Just put in all of those things. And this is going to become your income target. Now, there's a very simple way that this will show you your net income that you require. And of course, we need to pay tax. So the simplest way to work that out would be if you jump onto the Aureus Financial website, aureusfinancial.com.au, and in the search bar, you can search for a gross up calculator, GROSS, gross up calculator, and you can plug in your net income and it'll tell you what your gross income would need to be. Now, this is a conservative view, of course. As a business owner, we can do tax planning and all of these other things that'll help you optimize your tax, but this will be the worst case scenario gross income that you would need to earn. Now, you have a magic number now. This is the number that we need to chase. And this is how we start reverse engineering your roadmap. Based on all of the things that you want to achieve, how much income do we really need to earn? No longer do we just pull a number out of thin air and just let our ego drive us in pursuit of it. This is now a very simple, it's a rudimentary, but a very simple way of understanding the real income that you require. And now it's a matter of us reverse engineering that into what your business needs to do to earn that amount in profit, what revenue your business needs to do to make that level of profit, how many clients you need to make that revenue, how many leads you need to get that number of clients, and then what other activity that you need to do to be able to generate those leads. We can reverse engineer all of this into your KPIs in your business, and this is how we create a real roadmap. This is the exact process that we've used to help over 1,000 clients build $1.2 billion in combined wealth. It is extremely powerful, guys. So I want you to take what we've spoken about today. I want you to think about why most people never plan and what you're going to do to approach this real roadmap exercise differently. I want you to get rid of this she'll be right culture. I want you to invest the time in turning your dreams to goals and implementing the real way to plan using the 20-year roadmap. If you want a copy of that exercise, just feel free to reach out to us and I can send you a worksheet that will allow you to facilitate this. And what I want you to do more importantly is I want you to create a time at least once a quarter for you to sit down and update this exercise. And it is this process, done systematically at least every quarter, that's going to help you drive the results in your business, to help you create more profit, create more free time, and create more personal wealth. So guys, road mapping does not have to be difficult. And to be fair, there is a lot of this stuff that you can do on your own. But you need to ask yourself, is this something that you're going to hold yourself accountable? Are you going to hold yourself to a high enough standard to ensure that life doesn't get in the way, that business doesn't get in the way, and that you're actually going to go through this? And if the answer to that is no, or you're not sure, then you need to get some help. So what I urge you to do is, if you need some help, if you want help mapping out your roadmap, if you want help crunching the numbers, if you want help reverse engineering this into an action plan that helps you drive the results that you want, then reach out to us. Join our free Facebook community, the Your Lifestyle Business community. Jump on and book a call with us. Let's have a conversation. Shoot me an inbox message and let's just have a chat. And we can see what we can do to help you build your real roadmap to get you on the right path for financial freedom. Because if you look back on the last financial year, and maybe you've had a good year, but maybe you're not happy or content with the results you've got and you feel that you can do more, then let's do something about it. Because there's always 20/20 vision in hindsight. We need to use that hindsight to build the right forward-facing strategy that's going to allow you to create the life that you want, the life by design that's going to get you on the right path for all of those goals, dreams, and aspirations that you have. So my last question to you is, what would you like? This is Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, with the Enjoy the Journey podcast. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to catching you next time. We'll catch you then.